When most people think of a beach vacation, summer is the season that comes to mind. But for those of us who live here on Amelia Island, we know that fall is when the island really comes to life in a very different way. The pace slows, the weather starts to cool, and the charm deepens. In this episode, we're sharing why we think fall is the best time to visit Amelia Island and how you can make the most of your stay. We're Scott and Melissa, the Sunshine Travelers.
We're all about exploring the world and sharing the journey with you. Whether you're a seasoned traveler, dreaming of your next adventure, or just here for the stories.
No matter where you are on your travel journey, we've got firsthand experiences, tips, and plenty of inspiration from some of the most amazing places on Earth. So
buckle up and get ready to travel with us.
So, Melissa, the picture that I think of when I'm thinking of summer on Amelia Island is our grandson Rhodes, and he was sitting there trying to eat that ice cream cone, and it was melting faster than he could eat it. And, the other thing was it's so hard to try to get reservations at restaurants here unless you're willing to go early in the day or kind of late at night.
Yes. And if it's not a place to take reservations, and then if you go like at the peak time, then you have to wait a long time. So same thing, like early or late. But fall here on Amelia Island is a completely different story. And we really love it then. The air starts to cool down a little bit. It's still warm during the day, but in the evenings and the mornings, it's just a lot cooler. The crowds disappear for longer periods of time. And the island feels like it just opens up in the very best way, don't you think?
Yeah, it's just a little more relaxed. You can get an earlier dinner reservation. You can enjoy a long walk on the beach without, a lot of noise and people around. You can even sneak in a round of golf during some of the best weather of the year.
Yeah. And it still gets warm, but you don't just have that absolutely sweltering. You still probably don't want to do the middle of the day, but you can play a little bit longer, right? You can start a little bit earlier in the afternoon. And if you're staying down at the Ritz, they have those amazing fireplaces that they turn on. You can order a drink and then sit by that fire and then just have that ocean just, to look out on just beyond that.
Well, in today's episode, we're sharing why we think fall might be the perfect time to visit Amelia Island. Whether it's the outdoor adventures and local events, we'll share where to stay, where to eat, where to play. So let's just go ahead and dive right in. Well, let's start with what actually changes after summer. And I guess we should define what is summer because it really starts here around Memorial Day. So I think that's when summer really kicks off here on the island. You start to notice that the crowds get a little bit more. And then by July 4th, I would say that summer is, it's in full motion.
Yeah, definitely for sure. Yeah, I would think it just really coincides with when kids are out of school and people are taking week-long vacations as well. So definitely agree with that. So then after summer, really talking about probably, mainly August, but it's still very, very warm. But in August, you are going to start to see that start to thin some as some of the school systems go back. But then especially after Labor Day, that's when it really, really starts to slow down because then everybody's back. Into the school mode, I would say then.
And when we think about the weather here on Amelia Island, it really doesn't start to get cool until mid to late October.
Yeah, you're still going to have that summer temperatures. I think you just have a little bit of a break in that. So you definitely can still enjoy the beach. And it's also sometimes, not every year, but sometimes it does take a long time for it to warm up. It takes a long time for it to cool down. If you may not be able to swim till May, but a lot of times we can swim and get in the water until October.
And I think that really just depends on the storm season.
Yeah.
And so is it bringing in the colder water from deep out in the Atlantic?
Yeah. And I think that's the only thing that you really have to just think about and watch out for, right? Is that storm season, but that's not something that you can predict, even a couple of days out.
Well, we've lived here 3 years now, and really the storm season hasn't been much of an impact. Now, I will say that we do travel a lot during the storm season, and so we're gone. But, over those last 3 years, even when we've had major hurricanes come through, the impact here on the island was very minimal.
Right. And it's been for like short periods of time. Like we left early because for another trip so that we could make sure that we could get out. But you're right. Like the impact thankfully has been minimal. So it's just a slower, more peaceful way, I would say, to experience the island if that is something that you can fit into your schedule.
So let's talk a little bit about some of the activities and events that happen during the fall here on the island. One of the things that comes to mind is going hiking and biking. Like this is, the first time that you can really get back into that. So, whether you're on Egan's Creek or you're over at Fort Clinch or you're even down the boardwalk on the south end of the island, much more pleasant weather in the mornings and in the evenings to get out and to walk around or go biking and to do those types of activities.
Yeah, and a lot of people might not think about hiking or being able to do some walking trails, but we actually do, like you mentioned, Fort Clinch State Park. There's actually quite a number of trails, and then walking the Greenway. And so that can be especially pleasant as it cools down. And the one thing I would say about fall versus spring is like spring, it just seems to can be very buggy. Whereas the fall, you don't get that quite as much. So that's why it can be a really enjoyable time. But then also biking. So on some of those same trails, you also can do the mountain biking. You can ride your bike on the Greenway and you can ride like all of that. That's what's so great about the biking is that it's easily connectable. And so you have just miles and miles that you can pleasantly bike as well.
It's also a good time to go out and go kayaking. Bugs aren't going to be as bad. You don't have as much of the afternoon thunderstorms that you have to worry about. And so there's a lot of marshes and creeks around here where you can go kayaking. We still haven't done that yet, so it's still something that's on our list of things to do. But there's lots of places where you can go do that, and the weather is much more pleasant in the fall.
And the thing about that, too, is that there's actually a lot of outfitters or several outfitters that you can book like a tour through or book kayaks and equipment through. And so it's not like you have to bring that with you, right? So book it through them or book a tour if you feel more comfortable going with somebody. And so there's several of those things that you can do. And then also just the fall bird migration and this as grass and stuff like that starts to change, the photography at Egan's Creek is just absolutely phenomenal. And that's a place to where, there, then the marina, and then even the sunsets at the beach. So some of those golden hours, the light for those kinds of activities are just phenomenal as well.
Let's talk about some of the seasonal events that happen here on the island. First of all, every Saturday of the year, there's a farmer's market that's open from 9 to 1. And they're going to be there, rain or shine. Say it might depend. If it's raining, there might be fewer vendors there, but the farmer's market is open every Saturday. However, in the fall, they start with the Fernandina Beach Arts Market.
Yeah. So second and fourth Saturday, and they used to have this just right there but it's a couple of blocks down now near Pepper's restaurant. So they've moved that down. But that's what I love about the island here is a lot of times when you travel and go places, that farmer's market is going to be so seasonal. That's one thing that I love about here is because, a lot of times when you travel and go places, those farmers markets are going to be spring, summer, but you have that all year round here. It's just a great thing to be able to visit. So we wanted to point that out because a lot of people would think of that being seasonal. But the other thing that starts to really kind of kick off fall is the dining month that starts in September. And last year was the first one. And so they're going to host that again this year. And so basically what it is throughout the whole month, certain restaurants have special prefix specials, there's two different price points. And I think it just depends on the restaurant. So just have a look at that. If you plan on being here in September, it goes from the 1st all the way until the 3rd. And so just look up that calendar of events for Amelia Island Dining Month and you can see the restaurants. As we get closer, more details about that are going to come out.
Are you looking to plan your next unforgettable adventure? At Sunshine Travelers Experiences, we specialize in helping you create tailor-made travel journeys that turn your vacation dreams into reality. Whether you're craving a relaxing beach escape, an awe-inspiring cultural journey, or a thrilling outdoor adventure, we can help. Why choose Sunshine Travelers Experiences? Personalized itineraries designed just for you, expert travel advice and insider tips, seamless booking from start to finish, exclusive access to top destinations and hidden gems. We also book cruises, all-inclusives, groups, tours, and so much more. If you're unsure where to even start planning that bucket list trip, start by asking us. Then let Sunshine Travelers Experiences handle the planning so you can focus on making the memories. Explore now, sunxtravel.com. If you have any questions, email us info@sunshinetravelers.com. We also have in the first week of October Island Hop Craft Beer Festivals. So if you're a craft beer lover and you enjoy that, there are several craft beer breweries right here on the island and in Jacksonville and in the surrounding area. And so they have a special festival that first weekend in October.
Yeah, that's a good point, is that if you miss that, kind of create your own whenever you're here. And that would be a great thing to do in the fall. We have a distillery. Like Scott mentioned, we have three or four. I think it's three. And then there's a cidery. So look those up and go, and you can do a tasting as well at those. And that's the other thing that I love, is just that there's constantly festivals and different things going on as well. Also in October, there is a half marathon, the Amelia Island half marathon, the weekend of the 11th and 12th of 2025. And so if you are a runner, it's kind of fun to combine a trip with a run. We did that in Waco, Texas. That was how we kind of got out to Magnolia. And a lot of people, like to do that. So if you're a half marathoner, you get a chance to do that and see the island while you run.
I also saw that if you don't want to do the full half marathon, they do have a 5K and a 12K.
Okay.
I guess they didn't have a path short enough to do a 10K. I don't know.
So, but that's a good event. That's a great event. And then you can have different, people if you're a, half marathoner and then your family members want to do something less. But that's a great way to kind of like see a place. That was what was neat when we did the one in Waco, is like you could see other stuff. And so then right after that, the Georgia-Florida game takes place in Jacksonville on neutral territory. And so that's a close enough where a lot of people come and stay on Amelia Island. And so it quite livens up the downtown, the live music and the different venues like the Green Turtle and the Palace Saloon. And so that's a fun time to just kind of hang out and see people.
Just the streets. So the streets and the shops are all decorated either in, orange and blue or red and black. And they've got the flags hanging for each of the schools up and down Center Street. So there's a lot of people who come and stay on the island and then will spend time here that weekend. So that's a really fun time to be here if you're a Georgia-Florida fan. If you're not a Georgia or Florida fan, that might be a busy time to come and to try to get into places. But if you just want to come down and join the world's largest tailgate party, it's happening right here. You don't have to go into Jacksonville to participate in that.
Yeah, that's true. So that same weekend, it's also the Right Whale Festival, that first weekend in November. It celebrates the annual return of the endangered North Atlantic right whale to these warm coastal waters right here off of our island. And so while we haven't actually seen a right whale, people who have gone out in boats, and because they're kind of far out, but it's just neat to think about those whales, migrating here. So this festival, features ocean-themed activities and exhibits, and we've gone to it a couple of times, and they have a lot of learning opportunities, especially great for kids as well. So a lot of educational and environmental things, a lot of different companies and organizations come out. It's free to go. It's down at Main Beach. And so it's just a neat festival to learn about those whales. And just think, again, you think about places like Alaska and Hawaii and, off the coast of California and places like that, but the fact that they come here. So it's just really neat.
And then I guess finally from a festival's perspective, one of our favorite ones that we love to participate in, and, last year we even dressed up to participate, is the Dickens on Center. And so the whole town turns into this kind of Charles Dickens postcard, if you will, and they have vendors who come and they shut down the Center Street and all of the surrounding streets downtown, where they'll have music, they'll have plays, they'll have crafts and activities for the kids. And it's just a fun time to come and hang out in Fernandina Beach and really get that Christmas season started.
And you might be saying, well, that's not fall, but technically it is fall. But winter is not until right before Christmas. We were actually talking about this with the kids and the grandkids just recently, but drone show instead of fireworks, which is just really neat. So Scott's right. It's just a great way to kind of kick off that Christmas spirit and do something.
So if you want more information about, those activities that are happening, go to our free Amelia Island travel guide that we have posted out on our website. That's at sunshinetravelers.com/Amelia Island. And you can download that visitor's guide that we've put together. It's got all of our favorite restaurants. It gives you a little bit of information about where to stay, the events that are happening. It's just a great guide if you want to use that when helping to plan your stay here on Amelia Island.
Yeah. And Scott, I just want to add too that when you go to that sunshinetravelers.com/Amelia Island, there's also links to blog posts that we have about Amelia Island that'll just give you some more information. We have done some other podcast episodes. They are all linked there. So it's just a great resource to have everything all at once. And feel free to also email us, Scott at sunshinetravelers.com, Melissa at sunshinetravelers.com. If you have any questions, we had somebody email us last week about our tip for parking for the beach and for downtown dining. And so it's just always fun to hear from you and to share those tips. So please let us know if you have questions or want more information.
Well, Melissa, we talked a little bit earlier about golf, and really the peak season for golf is the fall. You get the most beautiful weather, you get fewer bugs, and, great course conditions out there. And so a lot of people will come to Amelia Island just to play golf. And we have courses that match all skill levels. So whether you're a beginner or maybe you've been playing for a really long time and you got that low handicap, all of these courses will provide a challenge for you no matter where you're at in your golf skills. There's three that I would probably point out to you. The first one is if you're staying at the Ritz-Carlton, you can play the golf club of Amelia Island. And so you have to stay at the Ritz to play this one. I think sometimes they do have some partner hotels other than the Ritz that they will extend that benefit to. But for the most part, it's for those who are staying at the Ritz. And then it's a private course that you can join as well. If you're staying at the Omni or you just want to play the course, it is more expensive, but the Oak Marsh course at Amelia Island, it's a Pete Dye course. It's a wonderful course. I've played it before. It's a place where one time I was out there playing and there's like a little marshy area. And I looked and there was just tons of roseate spoonbills out there. It's a migratory bird that we see, for like a month or two during the year. So it was really cool to see all of them out there, hundreds of these roseate spoonbills. And so you just get this beautiful wildlife while you're playing, golf. So not only do you have the views of these, beautiful courses with either the marsh or lake views, but then you get the wildlife on top of there. And then my other favorite course that I would say is the Amelia River Club. And, this is it's a really good course. It's not quite as expensive as like Oak Marsh is, but, very well maintained, great course, great challenging course, I should say. But I'm high handicapped, so just about every course is challenging to me. But anyhow, you can usually get a tee time there. All the tee times can be booked online. And so if you're a golfer and you're looking for a new place to go to play golf, think about coming here to Amelia Island because you've got quite a few courses to choose from.
The other thing you talked about wildlife too, and not to scare you, but if you want to have like an alligator sighting too, there's I would say most of the time, if it's a really sunny day, we'll see the alligators and they won't bother you if you don't bother them. They're just like laying out on the bank, but that's just kind of a neat, you don't have to go to the Everglades. You don't have to go to any kind of zoo or anything like that. They're just there. So
I remember one time I was playing the Amelia River Club and I had overshot the green, and on the backside of the green, there was an alligator laying there. And it was funny because there was like 3 or 4 balls around him, and you could tell people had hit it there, and they were just like, yep, nope, I think I'll just drop a new one.
Sacrifice the ball. Yep. Don't blame them.
But, if you are interested in playing that time of year, you probably want to go ahead and make your tee times in advance. Don't wait till last minute because that is the peak season. It's funny. during the summer, where in most parts outside, I guess, the South, most parts of the U.S., peak time for playing golf is in the summer. Well, that's off season here on Amelia Island. And it's just because it's so hot to play during the day. It's so humid. We just don't play as much here during the summer as we do starting in the fall going into the winter.
So, Scott, we have a lot of good places to eat here.
Yes.
So, yes, we have the beach. Yes, we have the golf. We have these festivals, but we really do. We're spoiled to have lots of local dining. So, let's talk about a few of our favorites.
Yeah, well, it's local dining, and also we're very honored that our restaurants stay open year round.
That's true.
So in a lot of beach locations, you'll find that the restaurants and the shops, many of them tend to close down in the off season. But that's not true here on Amelia Island. And so you just constantly have activities that are happening that people are coming in for. And so it does help to keep our restaurants and the shops downtown open. So year round, you have that ability to come in and enjoy the quaint charm of the town, enjoy the shops that are there, and then find some great places to eat.
So you want to talk about maybe a couple of our favorites?
Yeah. So one of our favorites is a place where come fall, you're going to want to sit outside, enjoy the beautiful weather. And so the patio at 5th and Ash is really a great place. Very charming atmosphere. It's like a little courtyard under some trees, and they usually have tables that have fireplaces in them, or they have the outdoor heaters if it gets a little cool in the evenings, and great food, great drinks. They usually have some live music out on the patio as well. And so that's one of my favorite places to go.
Yeah. Any recommendations, specific recommendations? They do have some specials there. So.
I know on Thursdays at lunchtime, that's when they have their burger special. And that's really good. Like you get burgers and a side and a drink for like $9.99. And we're not talking about some kind of little small smash burger. I mean, these are good, hearty burgers that they have. But they also have high-end dining as well.
Steaks and really good salads. And there's so many things that we really like there. So we always, of course, recommend that you go try Wicked Bow. You need to look this up. Like you're not going to pass it walking down Center Street. So make sure you look. It's a little bit off the beaten path, but well worth it. I mean, just a couple of blocks up when I say that. But Natalie always has her seasonal sake sangria. So a flavor of the month every month. And then to try along with some of her specials too. We went a few weeks ago and I had this special, like the crusted seared tuna. So she's always has these specials. So hopefully you'll meet her. She's almost always there. Please tell her that the Sunshine Travelers sent you and don't miss that. The other thing I wanted to point out too is probably a lot of the coffee shops, but definitely in Macoma, they'll have some seasonal fall coffee drinks and stuff too. And they do a good job with that. So go by Macoma, which is, yes, it is also the brewery, but it's a coffee shop by day. So you can go for your coffee hour and then stay for your happy hour, but definitely try some of their seasonal ones. And the other thing I guess we should say too, while we're talking about Macoma, is they'll have some seasonal things too. There's a lot of restaurants. So go to that sunshinetravelers.com/Amelia Island and grab that guide so that you can read through some of our favorite other ones too.
Well, let's talk a little bit about where to stay. We've invited you to come and check out Amelia Island, but now you're going to need somewhere to stay. And one thing that I would point out is there's not very many beachfront inns, right on the ocean. I know if you go over to the Gulf, they've got lots of hotels and inns that are right on the ocean. And that's not necessarily true on Amelia Island. It's much more houses. There's a few condos, but for the most part, it's all single family residences along the beachfront. And so wanted to just talk about a few of them. First, there's the Ritz-Carlton down on the south end of the island. Very upscale. It's oceanfront. And one of the things Melissa talked about earlier is those beach-facing fireplaces that are out by the pool. Really cozy seating. And so on a nice, cooler fall night, you can sit around there with family and friends, enjoying a glass of wine or a cocktail and just hang out there till late in the evening. And so that's one that I would highly recommend. And then, of course, right next to that is the Omni Resort on Amelia. We've been down and we've actually eaten at the restaurant inside the Omni. We haven't spent as much time around the rest of the property. And so, once again, that one's going to be beachfront as well. And both of those have golf amenities, spas, all of the things that you might be looking for on a nice resort stay. Then we have plenty of other smaller hotels as well, Melissa, and those are kind of scattered throughout the island.
And so if you want to be on the beach on the north end, there's really only two other places that are going to be right there on the beach. And one of them is a small lodge, Elizabeth Point Lodge. And I would consider it to be like a boutique hotel. Like it's not going to have very many rooms. And then also Seaside Amelia. And both of those are right at Main Beach. And that's really as far as hotel type of accommodations that you're going to have on the beach. Other than that, you would need to look for condos or renting a house. And then there are some that are close by. So there's a Spring Hill Suites courtyard. It's within walking distance. And then actually several. And when I say within walking distance, like a couple of blocks that you'll find as well. And then we've got hotels that are a few blocks away and then also in downtown as well. And the other thing about downtown, that if you want something that's more like a historic bed and breakfast, you're actually going to find several of those. Those are included in that guide, but encourage you to check that out as well, because there's a lot of neat places to stay. So it really just kind of depends on what you're looking for, but just be aware of that. If you want like hotel on the beach, you're going to find like those four, and that's pretty much it.
Well, so one of the questions that we get from listeners from time to time is they're asking, is it too cold for the beach in the fall?
Yeah, definitely not. And I would say probably in the fall, that is, of course, going to be, that's when you're going to want to go like more in the mid-afternoon. You can go more in the mid-afternoon, but probably very, very pleasant, right? And of course, unless there's a storm, but that's anytime. And as long as the sun is out. We went this afternoon and it started to storm and we actually got chilly, right? So it's really just going to depend. But no, it's still going to be, the air is still going to be very warm. And like you mentioned, like also the water is going to be warm, whereas you might come in the spring and the water is just going to be too cold. So
where would you say if someone wanted to go and see the sunrise, what would you recommend to them?
So definitely, well, so if you are at the Omni or the Ritz or staying at one of those right there at Main Beach, I mean, just go right out there to the beach, right? Check the sunrise schedule on the weather app or online and just go right out there to the beach. If you're not, so then of course you could still go and park at Main Beach and go, or park at any of the beach access. So that's the other thing that we've mentioned previously, but not in this episode. So if you're not staying right there at the beach, and you, let's say you have a car, you've rented a car or something like that, every quarter of a mile, there is beach parking and beach access. And you almost always, and especially I would say in the fall, you're going to be able to find parking just anywhere along the beach.
The other place that I would say is if you want to sit and have a cup of coffee or, maybe an early breakfast and watch the sunrise, is the Tortuga Jack's, which is right above Sliders Bar. It opens at like, I don't know, 6 a.m., something like that. And you can go in there, have a cup of coffee, get a little bite of breakfast. You seat out on a balcony that's overlooking the ocean. And so I think that's a great sunrise spot for sure. But if you want to catch the sunset, you got to go to the other side of the island, which is going to be down around downtown in the marina area. And those are some really good places to catch that sunset view.
Yeah. And so that's the other thing I would say, like people might think, okay, well, because it's on the Atlantic, then you're not going to have that sunset. But because we're on the island and we have that water, you do get the best of both. You get the best of both worlds. So yeah, head down along the marina. They've actually improved the road and improved like the parking and stuff as you go up from the marina. So there's a lot more, I would say, to watch the sunset, but it's just a phenomenal place. The other place you could go, if you haven't been to the old Fernandina, there's like, it's a little tiny state park, but it gives you some green space out to the water. And that's a great area too. So.
Boy, some locals are really going to shoot you on giving that one away. Well, if you have any questions about visiting Amelia Island, like Melissa said, please reach out to us. Send us an email, scott@sunshinetravelers.com. I'd be more than happy to help you plan your stay really like a local. And then also make sure to download our Amelia Island guide. So that's sunshinetravelers.com/Amelia Island. And those are great resources for you to help make the most out of your visit to the island.
Scott, I wanted to point out, since it is a destination, just a few little packing tips to go along as you're thinking about coming to the island. So I would say throw in for fall, that would be different. Throw in some lightweight long sleeve something, right? Whether it's a t-shirt or some kind of cardigan that you can just put on over in the morning and the evening. And then also, so dinner doesn't have to be dressy, and even places that are more, you have a few that are really nice restaurants, but they're still very casual, but it's kind of fun to dress up, right? So a longer dress, sundress, maxi dress or something that then maybe you could pair that cardigan with. For guys, khaki pants and, khaki shorts with polo or button up is always good. Bring some comfortable shoes for walking around downtown, whether that's just like a comfortable pair of sandals or a comfortable pair of sneakers or something like that. It's always a good idea to have like a lightweight rain jacket, umbrella, maybe some bug spray. Like we said, it's not as bad, but if you're going to do hiking or something like that, but always bring some sunscreen too, especially if you're not used to the sun. And then if you're flying and you just kind of want to pack light, find a fun like tote bag that you could put a towel in and go to the beach, and then also that you could take to dinner or something like that. That would be kind of a good way to double up on that without having a bunch of stuff for packing. And then always have your portable phone charger so your phone doesn't die and you don't miss the pictures of the sunset.
Well, Amelia Island in the fall is quieter, it's cozier, and a lot more relaxed. Whether you're into golf, nature, history, or just a peaceful walk on the beach, this is the time of year when the island really opens up for a deeper experience. We hope this episode has helped you imagine what a fall getaway here could look like. Download our free Amelia Island travel guide at sunshinetravelers.com/Amelia Island. Start planning your fall escape, and we'd love to help you make the most out of your time here on the island that we're lucky to call home. So until next time, remember the world is full of sunshine and surprises. Make 2025 the year that you explore beyond the familiar. That's a wrap on this episode. We hope it gave you some inspiration for your next adventure.
If you enjoyed the show, we'd love for you to leave us a 5-star review on your favorite podcast platform. It helps others find us and keeps the travel conversations going.
Don't forget to follow or subscribe so you never miss a new episode.
And come hang out with us on Instagram or Facebook at Sunshine Travelers Podcast. That's Travelers with 1 L.
Most importantly, share this episode with a friend. You never know, they just might become your next great travel companion.